And then the war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu responds with, well, I think, you know, obviously there are historic reasons for that, but as well, you know, the influence that bots have in social media. If you want to talk about social media, what about all of the IDF soldiers who have been posting their war crimes to social media? I mean, where are the bots there? But when there are IDF soldiers who slaughter entire families, who murder children, then go into the homes of the families they slaughtered and put on women's underwear to dance around and mock them, or to use the toys that those children who have now been killed used to play with, and then film it and then upload it, yeah, that revolts and disgusts a lot of people. I'm not going to watch too much of this because fuck everyone involved, but holy fuck, if you thought that the Nelk Boys really did a number and fucked up because they basically brought on a war criminal actively starving hundreds of thousands of children to death to talk about what his favorite Whopper combo was, or if he liked chicken nuggies or shit like that, well, I mean, the Penis Balls Dick podcast wants to valuetain you into rehabilitating their fucking image, apparently.
Once they make a phone call to America, America better do or else. Do you agree with that?
Do you know President Trump? Good to be with you, Patrick.
So I have a very simple open-ended question for you. Why are you doing this podcast tour?
Well, number one,
because clowns like you are allowing it to happen. Why wouldn't you? Oh my God, this is the most excited I think I've ever seen him, by the way, and we literally just started. Oh, it's a big day. I'm a special boy. Look at this. I've got, you know, the world leaders on my show.
Because I heard that you invited me. Number two, because I think it's a way to puncture the lies and the vilifications that are leveled at Israel. And I think that's part of the, you know, we have a 7-front war with Iran and its proxies, but this is the 8th front, the battle for truth. So that's why I'm doing it.
You know, it's interesting when you say that, because when we look at a couple numbers, if we think about the Pew Research that came out a couple months ago on the unfavorability rate of Israel, they have you 24 out of 5. If I look at the number, I don't know if you have it to pull it up. If you look at the numbers, you would see the 24-country medium is 62 to 29 being favorable. Why do you think so many countries are unfavorable of Israel today?
I think it's a combination of historical trends, but also of the impact of social media, especially engineered social media with paid bots.
Ah, yes, it's the bots, and it's the TikTokers and social trends. I'm surprised he didn't just go with like anti-Semitism right out the gates here, but could be the genocide that you're actively doing, that the entire world is witnessing every single day. You know, seeing children starve to death. That might have something to do with it.
And this new media environment that we're in, it has built-in parameters that really take their toll. So we're aware of that. But I think the most important thing is that for democracies to fight wars, they should be as short as possible. And my way of combating the PR war is by winning the ground war and winning it quickly. The quicker you win it, the better you'll come out of this assault.
So why do you think this has taken so long? Because if you think a part of it, when you think about especially in America, there's 3 different types of people on social media right now in America that follow you. One, they fully believe you're committing a genocide right now. They're part of the community that's thinking they compare you to some dictators, some terrible leaders in the past, many names you've heard of before. Some of them are blindly supportive of what you're doing, but there's the other community that's almost a little bit burned out, that's wanting this story to end. Obviously, it's tragic. You know, we're seeing what's going on. We're seeing all the stories, but why do you think this is taking longer than it's taking?
Well,
the Bay Photo, thank you for the dono, and also Draga, thank you for the $5. Something about him makes me think of the bigoted boomers in Pennsylvania. Hey, wait a second, where's he from again? There you have it.
I don't think it's taken longer than it's taking. Look at what we had to fight. We were attacked viciously by the most savage attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. That's by Hamas on October 7th. I said on the second day of the war when Hezbollah joined the fray, I said we're going to change the face of the Middle East, because it was clear to me, and it may be clear to you too, that we're fighting the Iran axis. Without Iran, I would say that all the axes, all the proxies collapse. Hezbollah collapses, Hamas collapses, Assad collapses, and so on. So it was clear to me that we had to topple the Iran axis and not just deal with Hamas. And what happened following that was that we went in, Hamas is in its last breath. We haven't finished it yet, but we crippled Hamas. Then we went and finished off Hezbollah, took out Nasrallah. That led to the collapse of the Assad regime, whose armaments we destroyed. the army, the Syrian army's armaments. We dealt with the Houthis, still dealing with them. And then we had Iran itself that had struck us, and we had to strike back. And as you see, we changed the face of the Middle East, not only because we hobbled the proxies, but because Iran, which was...
You certainly did change the face of Gaza, because drone footage has made it quite clear. There's nothing left. Absolutely nothing. Oh, I think I'm getting censored on twitter.com.
A totally invincible enemy throwing its weight around, not only in the Middle East, spreading terror everywhere, and trying to arm itself with nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles to deliver them. We struck them very hard. So when you fight these four fronts, and there are another three, by the way, that I haven't mentioned, when you're doing that, a small country, it takes time. But I think we're approaching the final leg, and that's really finishing off Hamas. We can't have those monsters at spitting distance from Tel Aviv and our communities, and we're going to finish it.
Yeah, so when you say that for a person that lived in Iran, I look at the critics and they're giving, hey, let me tell you, it's not fair what he's doing with this. And you see ICC, which the average person, when they see ICC, 124 countries, that if you step foot in their country, they're supposed to arrest you, okay? And they're calling you a wartime criminal, the offenses you've done, the amount of, again, like I said earlier, they're calling it a genocide. How do you answer to the critics that they don't follow politics, they don't follow the stories closely? But if they see...
This is, by the way, I guess worse than the Nelk Boys. Like, at least the Nelk Boys are going to fall back on the, oh, bros, we didn't know. Like, holy fuck, we had no idea. Like, we were unprepared. I should have looked it up. In this case, Patrick Bet-David not only is bringing up and basically softballing these questions for him, a man who's actively doing a genocide. Like, for the very first one, it's like, why do you think that so many people right now have disapproving, opinions on Israel? And then the war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu responds with, well, I think, obviously there are historic reasons for that, but as well, the influence that bots have in social media. If you want to talk about social media, what about all of the IDF soldiers who have been posting their war crimes to social media? I mean, where are the bots there? When there are IDF soldiers who slaughter entire families, who murder children, then go into the homes of the families they slaughtered and put on women's underwear to dance around and mock them, or to use the toys that those children who have now been killed used to play with, and then film it and then upload it, yeah, that revolts and disgusts a lot of people, because this is not the most moral army in the world. This is absolute depravity. So that has nothing to do with the whole bunch of Gen Z fucking influencers who are apparently trying to spread all these kind of like anti-Israel messages.
If they see 120 something countries that if you land there, they're supposed to arrest you, the average person's going to say, maybe this isn't a good guy.
Yeah, well, they said that about Churchill too. He was a warmonger when he was talking about the German Axis and the danger to the West.
Odd example to pull. I mean, I don't have to bring up the Bengal famine here or other acts of Churchill, but if you're just trying to be like, well, I'm a wartime prime minister. That's what I am. And then war is ugly. And at the end of the day, that's all I have to say. We're fighting the Axis. We're basically the only country in the world right now that is protecting all of you. We're fighting Iran, and Iran is responsible for all this. Ultimately, they are the manufacturer of all this terrorism. Whether it be Hezbollah or them funding or directly funding Hamas, or please don't ask me about the formation of Hamas or how that even came to be. I don't have to answer that question. That one sounds a little tricky. But yeah, so we're fighting Iran on your behalf. We're protecting the world. So you're welcome, kind of thing. You are fighting humanity, right? Like, when you look at the footage of what is taking place, it's very, very clear. When there is just utter and complete devastation of everything, civilian infrastructure, schools, hospitals, orphanages, fucking day after day. It's like, when there's a reason why the mainstream press isn't allowed into that part of the world without an escort, without an IDF or Israeli ambassador escort to be able to make sure that whatever footage they're taking is approved to be able to leave that area. When Canada was doing their whole, like, we want to pat ourselves on the back because we're dropping food and crumbs into that part of the world, they weren't allowed to release the footage that the plane that took off from Jordan actually ended up taking. That CBC had footage, above the shot footage of what actually took place there, because it's so horrifying. Because it's one of those things that when people see it, they're like, oh my God, that looks like an apocalypse. That looks like a nuclear bomb was dropped on a densely populated civilian area that apparently half of the population was children. And I use was because at this point, the actual numbers, no one can say. Estimates are somewhere in 400,000 civilians have been slaughtered already. Other people are saying it's higher. It's 600 to 900,000. And while all this is taking place, while Patrick Bet-David is doing this genocidal propaganda by bringing on this war criminal, kids are literally being starved to death. You can go at the exact time that this was recorded onto aljazeera.com and see how many kids starved to death during the course of this conversation while he's just sitting there so excited. So, you know, a lot of people are saying that you're a genocidal war criminal, but where would they get that idea? What would make them think that, you know?
You know, he said he warned of the slumber of democracies. And I guess if I learned one thing from our history, the history of the Jewish people, is that you can't sleep. When somebody says they're out to annihilate you, you better take it seriously and act to prevent it. And that's the central lesson that we learned in the rebirth of the Jewish state and the Jewish people in Israel. We don't wait to be annihilated. We take forceful action against our would-be annihilators. And I think that, you know, people see it after you do it. After you do it, after you realize your vision, then people say, well, yeah, we begin to understand it. But they don't before. And that's certainly true of the case here. In the United Nations, you have 180 countries, 190 countries. And a great majority would tell you that the earth is flat. It doesn't make it flat. And the vilifications against Israel is a country committing genocide and other war crimes. That doesn't make it true either. Let me tell you, did you ask me about the ICC prosecution just now? Well, let me tell you about that. So we were going to have this ICC prosecutor, who's since been basically put to pasture. This ICC prosecutor was going to come to Israel in the beginning of the war. And he said, well, Israel has, you know, it has a proper judicial system, and, you know, I don't see any real problem there. And he was about to come. And a day before he's about to come, he suddenly cancels the trip. And 2 days later, he issues this war crimes charge against me and the former defense minister. And we didn't understand, why did he do it? It took us months to discover that a few days before that, he was confronted by one of his staff members, a senior staff members, who brought the charges of rape and sexual misconduct that this prosecutor carried out against one of his staff members, a woman, a Malaysian woman, by the way, who was fiercely anti-Israel. But she had suffered this harassment and these rapes for over a year. And Khan believed that this was his ruin. His brother, who's a British parliamentarian, was in jail for sexual misconduct too. So he said, that's it, that's the end of me. And then he figured out that there's one way to get out of this, and that is to deflect the entire conversation, to preempt it by blaming the Jews and blaming the prime minister of the Jewish state. And that's essentially what he did. Since then, you should know that there have been 4 or 5 other women who charged him with sexual misconduct. So what you have here is the ICC, which is a corrupt organization, totally politicized, unelected, that wants to, you know, basically preempt the sovereignty of nations. And that's why the United States is not a member. They won't tell the United States that its soldiers are committing war crimes because some woke people in The Hague are telling you that. This ICC...
Did he just say the sentence, because some woke people in The Hague are telling you that? What is this timeline? What is this world that we're living in? Where it's like, oh, it's not enough to try and actually downplay the actual institution of the ICC or the necessity of it, anything, some kind of oversight for empires not to commit war crimes upon one another. But at this point, I think they've caught the woke mind virus. Yeah, and that's what this was all about, ultimately. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the genocide, has nothing to do with our abhorrent treatment of civilians, the number of war crimes, the bombing of hospitals, schools, orphanages, the mass slaughter, the most journalists killed in the modern era, more than, say, multiple wars combined. None of that. The complete destruction of their healthcare system, the complete destruction of, again, so many institutions that allow people to live. But, like, it's not that. It happens to be because of massive corruption, and it's all political, and this guy just wanted to avoid his own sexual assault charges by targeting Israel. He felt this would be a good distraction, right? So he's like, of all the countries to choose, he chose Israel for some reason, probably because he's again you know, an anti-Semite, and then that's really what's happening here.
You see, this corrupt ICC prosecutor thought that he would escape justice by basically by condemning us. And that's what he's done. And I think a lot of countries are waking up to that. It's sort of embarrassing when your chief prosecutor is doing such a corrupt and heinous thing. But that's the ICC.
It's sort of embarrassing, you say. Israeli protesters rally for the right to rape prisoners. Protesters, politicians, and TV commentators in Israel are defending the right to soldiers to mistreat and even rape Palestinian prisoners in detention. The show of support follows the gang rape of a male detainee by a group of Israeli reservists.
בגדול, עוד פעם, זה מעניין לי את העכוז מה עשו לאיש חמאס הזה. אני כל הזמן זוכר, קודם כל, הדבר היחיד שמבחינתי הוא בעיה פה, זה שזו לא איזושהי מדיניות מוסדרת של המדינה להתעלל בצעירים. כי בגדול, זה גם, קודם כל מגיע להם, וזה אחלה נקמה שאנחנו צריכים לתת להם. ודבר שני, אולי זה גם ישמש אותנו קצת יותר כהרתעה. קשור 30 מבנותינו על עצים ב7 באוקטובר ועשו להם מעשים לא פחות חמורים. אני לא רוצה...
That's one aspect. The other one that just came out recently was a report from multiple people. Palestinian boys alleged sexual assault, torture by Israeli jailers. We are children, said one team. What have we done? Palestinian teenagers kidnapped and imprisoned by Israeli occupational forces during the genocidal war on Gaza accused their jailers of torturing and sexually assaulting them in a report published Saturday by the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. They took me from the aid distribution site and transferred me to a hospital in Rafah, where I was interrogated for 1 hour. One 16-year-old boy, identified for the first name Sammy, who was abducted on June 29th, told ABC. They stripped me and conducted a body search. Then they loaded me onto a jeep and transported me to a prison in Israel. During the interrogations, they tortured us, handcuffed us, beaten us with sticks, and using electrical shocks. They did countless things to break us. I was tortured for a week until I lost all sense of time and awareness. They put me in 1 square meter cell where I spent the entire week. I never saw daylight, never stepped outside. They only came to deliver food. They asked me if I knew anyone from Hamas and whether I had crossed over on October 7th. They kept pressing me about who I knew, who I had seen. I told them I was just walking down the street. I didn't know anything. They would beat me. Each person that talked to me would beat me. I was handcuffed, blindfolded. They put electricity in my legs. Mahmoud, age 17, said Israeli abductors began hurling insults, cursing at us, accusing us of being Hamas. They stripped us of our clothes, took us to Kerem Shalom, completely naked with nothing, he continued. There, the beatings and torture began. The Israeli women soldiers beat us. They stripped us and played here and there, Mahmoud said, indicating his genitals. They beat us with sticks, got us while we were lying on the ground. We were handcuffed like that and naked. Mahmoud said the captors wanted to humiliate them and other teenage boys in custody, accusing the troops of taking nude photos of them and sending female soldiers to mock and touch his body, an especially shameful ordeal for Muslims. When I was released from prison, I had a breakdown, Mahmoud said. I felt mentally exhausted and deeply disgusted. What I witnessed, no one should ever have to see. I was tortured. We are children, he added. What have we done? ABC published photographs showing signs of torture on the teens' bodies, including from the shackling. The Israeli Defense Forces categorically rejected the teens' accusations, saying that this includes allegations of electric shocks during interrogations, strip searches, detainees for humiliation purposes, or sexual assault. However, there's been numerous documented cases of such abuse, most notably the notorious Seditim torture prison. Israeli physicians who served at the torture prison described widespread severe injuries caused by 24-hour shackling of hands and feet that sometimes require amputation. Palestinians taken by Israeli forces have described being raped and sexually assaulted by male and female soldiers, electrocuted, mauled by dogs, soaked in cold water, denied food and water, deprived of sleep, and blasted with loud music. Dozens of detainees have died in Israeli custody, including one who died for allegedly being sodomized with an electric baton. Last year, 9 IDF reservists were arrested for allegedly gang raping a prisoner who suffered severe internal injuries in the attack, which was caught on video. Far-right Israelis, including government officials, subsequently stormed the facility in a bid to free the reservists, and Israeli leaders, including Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, demanded a probe of the video, not to seek justice for the victim, but to find who leaked it and punish them. Survivors of Israeli abuse have also accused their jailers of bringing Israeli civilians into the detention centers and allowing them to watch and record prisoners being tortured. Gazan doctor Khalil Al-Sir told ABC that Sami and Mahmoud's accounts mirrored his own abuse at the hands of Israeli soldiers who imprisoned him for 6 months last year. I witnessed many prisoners who were sexually assaulted using batons in their and also pepper spray over their private parts. He said that the guards called it the hell section, where the abuse was particularly severe. A pair of recent UN reports detailed sexual violence, including reproductive and gender-based crimes perpetrated by Israeli soldiers against Palestinians. The UN also reported that rape and other sexual violence committed by Hamas militants against Israelis during the October 7th attack and against the hostage kidnapped that day. In January, Israel blocked a request for UN sex crimes experts to probe the alleged sexual violence perpetrated by Hamas during the October 7th attack, reportedly to avoid scrutiny of the rapes and other abuses allegedly committed by Israeli forces against imprisoned Palestinians. This is, by the way, should be a lot of the context that someone like Patrick Bet-David, when he's bringing on a war criminal like Benjamin Netanyahu to downplay the severity of his war crimes and to run cover for what he's doing, not to mention, like, what purposes does this interview serve? There's a lot of people who have a lot of very, very strong opinions on Israel right now. Yes, but that is because they are being influenced by bots and social media. None of it's true. Okay, all right, on to the next question. Next question. Why exactly is there investigation by the ICC into the genocide of Palestinians being conducted by you? Oh, well, that's because basically it's political. It's because people who were accused of sexual assault unfortunately decided that they would distract the world from that sexual assault by targeting Israel. That's why he came after us, and so that's what's actually going on. That's the reason why no one should trust the ICC. That's the reason why there's no credibility to The Hague, for example. That's the reason why the United States isn't a part of it, because again, you know, they don't trust them to oversee people accusing other people of war crimes. Okay, next question. It's like, if there was any justice in this world, if you know, years from now, we could look back and there was something similar to, say, the Nuremberg trials and people who were complicit in both promoting this genocide, Patrick Bet David, you know, right here, as part of his valuetainment experience, is openly hosting a war criminal committing a genocide as children are being forcibly starved to death when there is a mass massacre of civilians, to be able to run cover for it. Not only is it grotesque, right? Like, on some levels, it should be criminal that someone can bring on the war criminal himself and sit there. He doesn't even have the defense that the Nelk Boys do. He can't sit there and be like, I didn't know. I didn't know how bad. Yes, not only did you know, you not only knew, you actively downplayed it. You brought up specific examples so that Benjamin Netanyahu himself could spread propaganda and lies to downplay the severity of the horrifying atrocities he is committing in real time. That's fucked. Not only should you be ashamed of yourself, but anyone who is associated with this corporation, this company, they should also be ashamed of themselves. Everyone, from the editors to the uploaders to the social media people, the whole team of valuetainment, you are now complicit in the crimes of Israel. I hope you're aware of that.
You see, I mean, President Trump, soldiers, incredibly brave soldiers, and this tiny country. You know, President Trump asked me, "How do you guys do this? I mean, you're such a small country. You know, we're the size of New Jersey, bigger than Rhode Island, but that's it. We're slightly smaller than New Jersey, and we take on this enormous empire with all its proxies, this anti-American empire that threatens to kill the president and chance death to America. How do you do this?" And I said, well, you know, you're like an enormous lion, almost like a prehistoric saber-toothed tiger. You're enormous. We're not, but we are, you know, we're the, you know, the badger, you know, this little animal.
Absolutely.
Badger. And you see a badger being, you know, some tiger or lioness is trying to kill it, and it sort of turns around. It has very sharp teeth, and it knows how to go to the weakness points, you know, to the points.
Yeah, that badger has nukes. That badger has all the military force that the U.S. Army, the world's largest arms dealer, can supply. What the fuck are we doing here? Bringing on a war criminal to just sit there and be like, so Donald Trump, he is a God King man, a lion man, truly, just the glorious emperor that he is, right? No pushback there. All right, well, say we're not the same. We're small bean. We're, again, if you look at the map, right, because basically that should be representative of power. So we're very, very small. We're this teeny little part, and then we're surrounded by all these large, huge, devastatingly large countries, right, just all around us, and they all want to destroy us. So again, you know, I don't have to use biblical references here, but you understand the metaphor that's going on. We're the small bean. They are these deadly, you know, Muslim hordes that are trying to destroy us, and now you understand it. Oh, totally. Good job.
Various parts of the world, and especially in the Middle East, with Iran trying to take over the world, I think that's a valuable addition. So, you know, it'll take.
If Iran is trying to take over the world, they're doing a fucking piss poor job at it. Why would they try desperately to negotiate with the United States, the world's largest empire, on multiple occasions, to be like, yeah, we would actually prefer to have less sanctions, more ability to do international trade, and not be a social pariah of the world, and in exchange, if you can give us certain protections, we won't do the whole nukes thing. But I mean, we really have one of two options, because we don't want to go the way of Gaddafi. We don't want to be destroyed. So, you know, that's pretty much our choices. Okay, we will do a deal. We will do a nuclear deal, and we will stop trying to enrich uranium, build nuclear facilities, and eventually be a nuclear power. So we'll do that in exchange for, again, you to lessen the American fucking sights on us. How about we do that? And then Trump comes along and he's like, no. And it's like, all right. Okay, well, I guess what's the second option then? Now, we can't do the deal because the deal was worthless all along. So now I guess we got to start trying to build those nuclear capabilities. So let's do that. And then once again, it's like, hey, by the way, do you want that deal? You could have it again. We'll dangle it in front of you. Okay, yeah, no, actually, we would prefer that. We'll take the deal. Yeah, we would prefer deal. Can we do that deal? Totally. Here it is. It's getting close. Oh, you can almost grab it. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. No. Here you go. Here it is. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Israel just bombed the fuck out of you. You're gonna have to retaliate. I mean, you can't be signing a nuclear deal with you if you're gonna be retaliating. So, we'll just put this down for now, and we'll see what happens. And you know, you do you.
Time for this to sink in, but it will sink in.
Yeah, you know, the topic of America First, it's become a little bit more clear where people are being put in different groups, America First and America Only, and that debate's going on right now, which is a great debate. I actually like listening to both sides make their argument. But you said, do you think President Trump is the type of a man that you can get anything you want and make him do what he wants? I don't think President Trump is. But I do think Biden and others are. So the whole criticism of the fact that Israel, whatever they want, they can call America and have favors being done, I would agree with you on Trump, but with Biden. So maybe a question that I don't think has been asked yet. Putin was asked 2 weeks ago if the war between Ukraine and Russia would have happened under Trump. He said, no, it wouldn't have happened. So for you, would the war and the Hamas attack have happened if President Trump was president instead of Biden?
I don't know. It's a good question, but you said something about Biden that I should just point out the facts. In fact, President Biden supported us in the beginning of the war after this horrific massacre, and he came here, and I very much appreciate it. But as the war progressed and the vilifications of Israel, the distortions on the media began to pile on, you know, he began to take a different course. And when we were just 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way in Gaza, I said we have to go into that last position that they had, where they had organized battalions. It's in a city called Rafah, in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. And he said, don't go there. And he said, if you do go there, I'll smack an embargo on you. Now, you know, you're fighting a 7-front war, and all of a sudden you're slapped with an embargo of weapons. That was tough. And I said to President Biden, who I've known for many years, I respect the fact you're the president of the United States, but I'm the prime minister of the one and only Jewish state, and we've been fighting to survive in our small place under the sun. It's been a battle that has been going on for 3,500 years. So I'll have to do what we have to do. And then a few days later, Tony Blinken, who was the Secretary of State, came to Israel, and he said, you know, the president is serious about this embargo. And I said, Tony, I know it's serious because you stopped all the weapons. You slow walked them before, but now you stopped them. And then I said to him this.
It's like, it's just so stunning when you see the actual footage itself and realize that it's like absolutely apocalyptic. Like there's nothing left. And then realizing that you are living through the zone of interest. Like I've said this before, when it comes to the horrifying atrocities that, you know, the Nazis enacted upon Jewish people, upon disabled people, upon queer people, by throwing them into death camps and internment camps and making them work, and the horrifying conditions that were inside them that constituted one of the greatest crimes humanity has ever committed against one another. A lot of the worst images of the Holocaust, for example, the people didn't realize how bad it had been until, you know, Germany had fallen, until you know, the survivors were liberated and they could actually get into the gates of Auschwitz and show the world photos, and then the actual horrifying atrocities could reveal themselves. And today, you know, with modern technology, we're seeing on a daily basis people, children, babies starved to death, people being sniped and shot as they are again starving, trying to get food, being crammed into incomprehensibly cruel living conditions, cages, being fired upon indiscriminately in what is being known as fucking the Hunger Games. All these vile acts being committed before our eyes. We are witnessing it, and at the same time, it's being turned into motherfucking valuetainment. Like this right here is the zone of interest. Just comfortably sitting there, well-fed, well-dressed, expensive suits, expensive ties, expensive fucking watches, and just talking about how, oh no, everything you're being told and you're seeing with your own eyes is a lie. Things are not as bad as you think. They're totally fine. You know, we're basically fighting terrorism, and we're fighting terrorism for you. We're protecting you, and that's what Americans need to know. All these accusations of genocide, of starvation, they're all lies. Thank you for having me on, Patrick Bet David. Thank you to Valuetainment for making all of this propaganda possible. Hasbara would not be nearly as effective if it wasn't for people like you willing to bring on war criminals and not even challenge them. He had angrier confrontational moments with Sam fucking Cedar of the Majority Report. Wholesome little Sam Cedar, who just wanted to come on there and explain to him why Social Security is a good thing, actually. Just sit in front of him and be like, Social Security is actually benefiting everybody. He got way more grilling, way more yelling, way more anger. And then a guy comes on who's starving hundreds of thousands of kids to their death. We can see the child skeletons now. We can actually see how bad it is, and brought him on there as a hero to literally sit there before him and before the eyes of the world and be like, tell everybody why they've been lied to. Use my platform. Promote this agenda. Promote the genocide. Do it. It's Valuetainment. It's so fucked. I guess the biggest thing that PBD ever did was make the Nelk Boys seem not as horrifying in comparison. I wonder what the comments are like. Hey, negative 21,000. I mean, this is a start. Not a single question on Gaza, the civilian killings, leveling of Gaza, starvation, occupation. That tells you a lot. Epstein didn't come up at all. PBD now classifies as propaganda. We see right through this shit, dude. What a shame. Remember, PBD made his fortune by running a pyramid scheme company and screwing over hundreds of thousands of hopefuls, burning their money to join his program. Damn, after getting that financial freedom, I thought you would grow some balls. More obvious damage control run of all time. PBD is propaganda. PBD just shattered his credibility for life. After reading the comments, I feel like humanity is still alive. Free Palestine. What propaganda is this? What a joke, PBD. You lost me. Not one tough question. PBD has 0 questions about actual genocide. Think about that for just a second. APAC owns PBD. Miss, when YouTube showed us how dislikes the video has. This comment section proves there's still hope in humanity. Not a single question about everything. Lol, Israel fights our war? Why didn't you ask why Israel has never sent one IDF soldier to help the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, which they wanted to so bad? PBD is definitely sold out his soul to the devil. I came straight to the comments and they didn't disappoint. This dude wouldn't do anything for viewers and money. He's no different than the mainstream media. You're the system we all hate. My faith in humanity is restored by the comments. We can all see the evil. Why won't you allow Western journalists in Gaza? Dislikes 21,000, likes 12,000. PBD, don't forget to wipe your face after BB is finished. Confirmed, PBD does get paid by Israel. I guess once a fraud, always a fraud. Huh, Patrick? Shameful. PBD is propaganda. Nothing else but propaganda after this. Netanyahu decided which questions are to be asked. Bro left his soul in Iran and came to America. Didn't expect him to throw straight softball questions. Why didn't you ask him about why international journalists aren't allowed in Gaza? God damn. I mean, was it worth it? That's all I gotta ask at this point. Holy shit. I did not think that his own fans were gonna turn on him that way. Well, yeah, I hope it was worth it.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This video wouldn't be at all possible without the financial support of all the people whose names you see on the screen right now. And if you want to unlock secret bonus episodes, content that we can't post anywhere else, or get the videos early before anyone else gets to see them, please go on to patreon.com/theserfs. For as little as $1, you can help support this channel and help make more videos like this possible. Our executive producers are Anna Loves Riley, Adrian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Garrett Sandoval, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Boehm, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Tigwick, Trav, and Words Greenwood. And also, it wouldn't be possible without all the names you see on the screen right now. Again, if you want to help produce this content, it's only made possible through the funding of our patrons.